Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Namaste to all my dear aspirants. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are welcome back to our Science and Technology Current Affairs series from 8 to 14 September 2025. In part 1, we completed the first 15 updates. Kindly watch part 1 Current Affairs Science and Technology updates. Today in part 2, we will cover the remaining updates from 8 to 14 September 2025, making a total of 34 important updates. So these updates related to science and technology are highly relevant for UPSC, BPSC, state PCS, SSC, banking, and other competitive exams. So let's begin this journey of knowledge with full focus and determination. After watching this video, if you found this session helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. More current affairs, English, grammar, and biology videos are on the way to help you crack your exams. So let's dive into the next current affairs. Next news is Environment Audit Rules 2025. It is towards greener governance. Environment Audit Rules 2025. Environment, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, introduced the Environment Audit Rules 2025 to address growing challenges in environmental monitoring. To address growing challenges in environmental monitoring. So these rules or these environment audit rules allow private accredited auditors. It allow private accredited auditors to supplement the existing regulatory bodies. So it aims to improve compliance verification, if there is any compliance, ensure transparency and accountability in environmental governance across India. About environmental audit rules, environmental monitoring in India, to monitor environment in India, condition in India is mainly conducted by CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, State Pollution Control Board, SPCBs, and regional offices of the Environment Ministry. So, environmental monitoring in India is done by three departments. Departments are CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, SPCB, and regional offices of the Environment Ministry. So these bodies faces severe constraint in manpower, resource, and infrastructure. So these limit their ability to comprehensively monitor the vast number of industrial projects and environmental activities nationwide. So these new rules seek to bridge this gap by involving independent private auditors. About the independent environment auditors, the environment audit rules establish a new category of environmental auditors. So these professionals must obtain certification and registration through the environment audit designated agency. So these independent environment auditors must obtain certification and registration through EADA, Environment Audit the designated agency. So these aggregated auditors, they will be licensed similar to the chartered accountants. They will get the license which are similar to CA and authorized to inspect and verify compliance with the environmental laws. So they will conduct audit on pollution control. They will conduct audit on waste management, forest conservation, and regulated regulation. About the function and responsibility of auditors, so these auditors, they are registered environmental auditors. They will perform random and unbiased audits. Their duties including verifying different types of compliances, conducting sampling, analysis, calculating environmental compensation, and uh, assessing adherence to the green credit rules. To the green credit rules. To the green credit rules. They will also verify self-reported compliance by industries. So these approach increase transparency and reduce different types of conflicts of interest during environment monitorings. These are integrated with environmental governance frameworks such as green credit program, integrated with green credit programs, extended producer responsibility under waste rules, and eco mark certification. So the new audit regime complements with the existing frameworks that are green credit program, extended producer responsibility under waste rules, and eco-mark certification. By expanding the pool of trained professionals, it allows regulators to focus on high-risk cases and policy makings. Digitized audit response will support data-driven governance and proactive risk management. There are some challenges at local levels, at national and state levels, with the rule is strengthened oversight at national and state levels. Environment violation often occur at district level, block level, and panchayat levels. So these areas face there are a lack of trained staff and resources. Effective enforcement require empowering local authorities without compromising any core responsibilities. So the success of the new system depend totally on the strengthening grassroots monitorings alongside private audits. About implementation and oversights, a steering committee headed by additional secretary by MOE-FCC oversees this implementation. It includes representative from CPCB, SPCB, and other regulatory bodies. They monitor progress, addresses challenges, and recommends reforms. So the environment audit designated agency manage certification, registration, training, and maintenance as online register of auditors. So key features and framework are certified and registered auditors, REAs, establishment of environmental audit designated agency, and they have definite roles and responsibilities. Then legal enforcement and access, then integration with green initiatives, green credit rules, and other green initiatives, providing a credible mechanism for verifying eco-friendly claims and fostering transparency in green policies. So these are the key features and frameworks. Certified and registered environmental auditors, REAs, can conduct environment audits, shifting from informal practices to a formal professional process. Establishment of environmental audit designated agency. This update is important for UPSC. It addresses regulatory gaps, enhances transparency and accountability, supports sustainable development, prepare for future climate regulation. So about CPCB and CPCB is the National Apex Authority for Pollution Control, while the SPCB, State Pollution Control Boards, are the state level agency that work with CPCB to implement and enforce environmental legislation like the Water Act and the Air Act. Next news is WHO updates essential medicine list. WHO updates essential medicine list, EML, essential medicine list. So drug list gets a registration. Four major anti-cancer drugs given is there: bendamustine, hydrochloride for leukemia, blood cancer, irinotecan, HCl trihydrides for pancreatic cancers, lenalidomide for multiple myeloma, and leuprolides acetate for prostate and uterine cancer. These drugs are added to NLEM 2022. Insulin, glargine, and anti-diabetic drugs, tinigliptin, also included to NLEM. Penetrate drugs, dolutegravir, it is the anti-HIV drugs. Then next drug is declatasvir, which is for hepatitis C, and the bedaquiline and delaminides anti-TB also part of the list of NLEM. Now, common gastrointestinal drug ranitidine is removed. It is an important point. Common gastrointestinal drugs, ranitidine is removed. Disinfectants like bleaching powder also removed from the list. So WHO updates essential medicine list. So World Health Organization released 24th edition of model list of essential medicine. 24th edition of EML, essential medicine list, and 10th edition of essential medicine for children, EMLC, in essential medicine for children in 2025. So it is 24th edition of EML and 10th edition of EMLC, essential medicine for children in 2025. Now, these updates reflect new treatment and the treatment for cancer, diabetes, obesity, and other diseases. So, the list guide over 150 countries. How many countries? 150 countries in medicine procurement and healthcare policies. So, 150 countries are guided by WHO. So, it aims to improve access in life-saving drugs worldwide. WHO, EML, and EMLC means model list of essential medicine list and essential medicine list for children, identify medicine that meet priority health needs, that according to the health needs. It was launched in the year 1977. They support public health system globally. So essential medicine list according to given by the WHO launched in 1977. They support public health system globally. So the list influence governance, procurements, insurance coverage. It influence insurance coverage and reimbursement scheme. So regular updates ensure inclusion of effective and affordable medicine for emerging many health challenges. There are few new addition and revision. The expert committee reviewed 59 application. How many application? 59 application, and added 20 new addition to the EML, essential medicine list, and 15 to the essential medicine list for children. 15 to the EMLS. LC. There are 7 existing medicine which received new use indication. 7 existing medicine received new use indication. The list now include this new list now include 523 essential medicine for adults and 374 for children. So these medicine address urgent problems, urgent issues like cancer, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, psoriasis, hemophilia, and blood disorders. About cancer medicine and access strategies, cancer causes nearly 10 million deaths annually and is a leading cause of premature death. The committee included only cancer drugs with proven benefits of extending life by 4 to 6 months. Notable addition includes PD1, PDL1 immune checkpoint inhibitors like pembrolizumab, atezolizumab, and semiflam for metastatic cancer, the cancer which spreads to the different body parts and causes death. So emphasis was placed on clinical and health system strategies such as dose optimization to improve affordability, accessibility, especially in resource poor setting, but the resources are limited. Now about the diabetes and obesity treatments, diabetes affect 800 million people globally, 800 million people globally, and obesity impacts more than 1 billion people globally. The committee added glucagon like peptide 1, GPL1 receptor agonists such as semaglutides, dulaglutides, liraglutide, and dual GLP-1, GIP agonist, tirzepatide. So these medicine help in improving blood sugar control. It also help in reducing heart and kidney complication. Also help in weight loss, and also it causes low death risk in type 2 diabetes patient with comorbidities. High cost limit access, prompting calls for genetic competition and integration into primary care. There are few challenges in access and affordability. So WHO stresses the need for a strong political will, multi-sectoral cooperation, and people-centered health program to ensure equitable access. So the organization will continue monitoring prices and support countries in expanding availability of these medicines. So expert committee and process it 25th WHO committee met in Geneva in May 2025. Country is Geneva and it is a 25th committee meeting. So it assesses medicine on effectiveness, safety, cost, effectiveness. The committee also reviewed antibiotic classification under the framework. The framework name is AWARE framework. AWARE framework. So the biennial update process ensured the list remained relevant to current global health priorities, according to the health priorities. Now about the EML essential medicine list with consideration of disease prevalence, efficacy, safety, and comparative cost effectiveness of the medicine. This list is made. Such medicines should be available in such a way that an individual or community can afford them. WHO essential medicine list is updated every 2 years. It is updated every 2 years by the expert committee on selection and use of essential medicine. The first country in the world to compose its EML was Tanzania in 1970. The first country in the world was Tanzania to compose its essential medicine list in 1970 was Tanzania. In 1975, World Health Assembly (WHO) requested WHO to assist member state in selecting and procuring essential medicine, which help in assuring good quality at a reasonable cost. Subsequently, the first WHO model list of essential medicine was published in the year 1977, which contained 186 medicine. So it is stated that essential medicine were utmost importance, very important, basic, indispensable, and necessary for the health and needs for population. So, and the criteria for selection were based on efficacy, safety, quality, and total cost. Key points for WHO EML updates. It is for cancer treatments, PD-1, PD-L1, immune checkpoint inhibitors for metastatic cancer, and then it is for diabetic cure, especially GLP-1 receptor agonist and GLP-1 GIP dual receptor agonist was also included. It focused on accessibility to reduce the higher prices of this new medicine and expand access. It is important topic updates for UPSC WHO model list of essential medicine, India's national list of essential medicine, which includes medicine regulated by National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority (NPPA) to ensure affordability. It is recent NLEM updates, Indian National List of Essential Medicine updates. The NLEM was last updated in 2022, adding new cancer and diabetes drugs, including 384 medicine. In 2022 update also incorporated drugs for COVID-19 and revised the list based on changing antimicrobial resistant patterns. Why it is important for UPSC? Because it is important for global health context, public health focus, and policy and governance and health resource management. Key aspect of WHO EML is provides regular updates. It's updated every 2 years to incorporate new drugs and address evolving health needs. It is criteria for inclusion to benefit and cost. It is cost effective, easily available, and aligned with treatment guidelines. It is aligned with AWARE classification. This includes AWARE Access Watch Reserve. Where is access watch reserve classification for Awareness for classification for antibiotic to promote their judicial rational use and combat antimicrobial resistance. It is a model for national list of essential medicine (LEM) and can adapt to create their own national list based on local needs and healthcare system. It is connected to India's national list of essential medicine, national priority, and that price control is required and dynamic list is required. Next news is here about Himalayan brown bear. Himalayan brown bear. So the Himalayan brown bear scientific name is Ursus arctos isabellinus. Himalayan brown bears Ursus arctos isabellinus has recently gained attention following an attack on Pakistani singer Uratulain Baloch in Deosai National Park, Gilgit-Baltistan. Himalayan brown bear has recently gained attention following it did attack on Pakistani singer Kuratulain Baloch in Deosai National Park, Gilgit-Baltistan. So this incident marks growing human and bear conflicts in the region. In that specific reason, scientific studies indicate that these human bear conflicts are increasing because of habitat loss, climate change, and human food waste. So the a bear which is a top predator in a food chain and ecological indicator faces threats from wreck because of increasing global temperature. Expanding human settlement is also a reason in the Himalayas. So the bear is a top predator and ecological indicators faces threats. Threats because of many global warmings, expanding human settlement in the Himalayas. About the bear, Himalayan brown bear. Himalayan brown bear is a less studied compared to the North American and European cousins. It inhabits alpines and subalpine region in the northwest and western Himalayas. It present in northwest and western Himalayas, and its population is decreasing due to habitat fragmentation, which is caused. The reason is deforestation and human land use. The bear prefer areas where there is a low human density, human are less, and minimum disturbance from human, but is increasingly forced into contact with humans due to shrinking habitats because of increase in population. So about Himalayan brown bear, it is the largest mammal found in the high altitude region of the Himalayas. It is one of the most ancient brown bear lineage. Scientific name is Ursa zartos isabellinus. It is also known as Himalayan red beard and the Isabelline bear. It is also known as a Denmo in the Ladakhi language. It is believed by some of the bear's ability to walk upright. Walk upright probably gave rise to the legend of the Yeti or abominable snowman. Abominable snowman named as a abominable snowman because it has the ability to walk upright. Himalayan brown bear distribution they are found in northwest and central Himalayas, including Pakistan, India, Nepal, Tibet, and autonomous region of China and Bhutan. So they are found above the timber lines between 3,000 5,000 meters. In India, this species Himalayan brown bear exists in small isolated population in the fragmented alpine and subalpine habitat of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. So impact of climate change, these Himalayas are gradually warming faster than the many global regions, with temperature expected to increase by 3 degrees Celsius by 2100. By this warming affects the bear's habitats by shrinking suitable ranges and altering food availability also, disturbing food availability also. So changes it's because of increase in temperature, it changes in snowfall and winter duration, which extend the bear's foraging season, sometimes causing bear these Himalayas bears to seek food with human settlements, to take food within human areas. So climate change thus intensifies habitat pressure and human bear conflicts. So human bear conflicts have increased in areas like Janskar region of Ladakh and Lahwal Valley in Himachal Pradesh. Bears rapid livestock and inter villages. Bears raid livestock, human livestock, and inter villages, searching for food, often conditioned by human waste and crops. So there are conflicts between human and bears. Peak in autumn during hyperphagia, which is a feeling of extreme hungers, which bears fatten for hibernation and reproduction. So, despite there are many economic losses, no human fatalities, no human death have been reported in recent years in this zone because of human bear conflicts. Community responses, poor understanding of bear behavior, and unregulated grazing worsen these conflicts. Human bear conflicts, ecotourism in protected areas could support coexistence but require integration with climate change mitigation strategies. There are many conservation challenges. Conservation efforts face challenges due to limited ecological data that are less and increasing human pressure, human activity. So experts urge incorporating climate adaptation into conservation plans. There should be more conservation plans. Community involvement and awareness are key to reducing human bear conflicts and preserving this vulnerable species. So the Himalayan brown bear is important for the UPSC exam due to its significant conservation status, ecological role, and the human environment conflict surrounding it. So it is important topic for GS paper 1 geography, paper 3 environment and ecology. So its conservation status is IUCN red list. The Himalayan subspecies, which is critically endangered, distinguishing it from the global brown bear species, which is least concern. It is also included under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which is listed under Schedule 1, which provides the highest level of legal protection against hunting and raids. It is also important for sites. It is listed under Appendix 1. Sites, it is listed under Appendix 1, which strictly prohibits international commercial trades, businesses. So it is important for UPSC prelims exam also, factual question, protection acts, ecology question also. So classification of species under sites is SITES sites. So Appendix 1 trade permitted only in this businesses trade permitted only in exceptional circumstances, that is less than 3% of all, approximately 3% of all species. According to Appendix 2, trade strictly control 97% of all species. Appendix 3 is request for assistance in controlling trade of species protected in specific country. So what is sites in why sites certificate is important? It is needed to manage the cross border trade businesses in wild animals and plants to in order to protect specific species from over exploitation. So more than 40,000 different species of plants and animals are now protected to varied degrees by it with the help of getting these certificates, regardless of whether they are sold as live specimen, fur coats, or dried herbs. So CITES are refers to the convention rule on international trade and in endangered species of wild plants and animal species, flora and fauna. So it includes three appendices: Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix 3. So Appendix 1 lists the most endangered species. Appendix 2 includes species that may become endangered without strict trade controls. And Appendix 3, species protected by a country that has requested assistance, help from the sides parties to control trade. So this it is included under Appendix 1. Human brown bear is included under Appendix 1. Appendix 1. Appendix 1. So what the appendix do? Appendix 1, 2, 3. Pause the video and just read everything. So how species are listed? Species are listed to or removed from appendix 1, appendix 3 with the help of vote by CITES party at their conferences. So a country can add a species to appendix 3. Appendix 3 to get help controlling trade, and it can withdraw the species from the list at any, it can they can withdraw the species at any time. Now, it is also important for mains for civil services exam, UPSC, BPSC, state PCS. GS paper third environment topic is important. It has integrated conservation approach, the need for a spatial planning of protected areas and community involvement in conjunction with scheme likes Project Snow Leopards can be a point of discussion. It is also important for governments and social issue, the role of traffic India compensation for livestock kills and community awareness program. It can be discussed in the context of improving conservation governance. So it is important for GS paper third environment. Next news is MQ-28A Ghost Bat military drones. MQ-28A Ghost Bat military drones. So Australia has recently made strides development in developing the MQ-28 Ghost Bat, a next generation military drone. So thus these unmanned, there is no presence of man. These unmanned aircraft are designed as collaborative combat aircraft that operate alongside manned fighter jets. These Australia has recently made development in developing MQ-28 Ghost Bat, which is a next generation military drone. It is a next generation military drone. So it is a unmanned aircraft which are designed as collaborative combat aircraft that operate alongside manned fighter jets. So this move marks a strategic shift for Australia as it rebuilds its defense industry to counter emerging threats in the Indo-Pacific region. About the background, Australia has traditionally depended on United States for advanced military hardware. However, rising regional tension and the rapid modernization of China's armed forces have prompted Australia to develop sovereign defense capabilities. So MQ-28A Ghost Bat project represent the first major Australian design and it manufactured to combat aircraft in more than 50 years. So this effort aligns with global trends towards unmanned system in modern warfare. About design and capabilities, the Ghost Bat is 32-foot long drone. It is a 32-foot long drone which is designed to act as a robot wingman for piloted fighters jet. It can fly pre-programmed mission autonomously, but allows remote pilots to take control if necessary, if required. The drone has a range of approximately 2,300 miles, nearly spanning the width of Australia. The aircraft is estimated to cost about one-tenth of the traditional main fighter jet like the F-35. So it costs about one tenth of traditional manned fighter jet like F-35. So it cost is less. Now production and industrial impact. Boeing in partnership with Australian government is leading the production of the Ghost Bat. Boeing is leading the production of Ghost Bat with partnership with Australian government. About 70%, about 70% 70% of drones components are manufactured in Australia with factories established in Toowoomba, Queensland. So these initiatives revive Australian defense manufacturing sectors, which had largely diminished since the Vietnam War era. It is largely diminished since the Vietnam War era. So this project aims to build a sustainable defense industrial base and potentially export these drones internationally. There are few implications also. So the development of collaborative combat aircraft reflects a border arm race reminiscent of Cold War's intensity. Countries like China and United States are also investing heavily in similar unmanned system. So Australia strengthen its strategic autonomy while maintaining close defense ties with United States and allies under agreement like AUKUS, AUKUS. The host bat improves Australia preparedness for future conflicts that may involve prolonged engagement between major powers. What are future prospect? Australia investment of around $650 million in the Ghost Bat projects, which signals a long-term commitment to modernize its defense forces. About the specific reason for its importance in many different examination, it is important for autonomous lowell wingman. The ghost bat embodies the lowell wingman concept, where autonomous drone act as a partner to manned aircraft, scouting, absorbing enemy fire, or operate independently. So it improves the survivability and effectiveness of fighter jets. It a collaboration of AI and autonomy. It is a man unmanned tubing man unmanned teamings. So drone is a prime example of man unmanned teamings where crewed platforms work alongside uncrewed aerial vehicles, which is integrated into a single combat team to achieve any mission. It is cost effective and affordable, as it costs only 10% of a traditional fighter jet like F-35. It reflects Australia's indigenous development and manufacturing. It is also symbolize electronic warfare capabilities. It also help in modular mission package. It also help in improving global trains. So the concept of loyal wingman drop is being pursued by other global powers like United States and China, making the Ghost Bat a key example in the global search of global increase of unmanned when there is a no man unmanned aerial system and potential point of discussion for international defense relation. Next news is India's fully digital census 2027. India's fully digital census 2027. So the Census of India 2027 marks transformation. Nearly 34 lakh and enumerators will collect data using with the help of their smartphones. So this will be the first fully digital census in the country. First fully digital census in the country. So the mobile application developed for this, the mobile application is developed. It will support multiple languages and it work on both on Android and iOS platforms. The data will be uploaded on this mobile application directly to a central server, ensuring faster and more accurate processing. About digital data collection and mobile application, enumerators will use dedicated application to record all household data. So these apps were initially created for 2021 census, but have been upgraded to match current mobile technologies. It have been upgraded now to match current mobile technologies. So the use of personal smartphones reduces the need for additional hardwares. The person are using the personal smartphones, it reduces the need for additional hardware. If data is collected on a paper due to any issue or any problem, it must later be entered into a web portal, avoiding double data entry or scanning. So this approach guarantees that all the data is digitized at the source. About the phases and language support, the census will be conducted in two phases. The house listing operation will run from April to September 2026. It is conducted in two phases. Population enumeration will follow in February 2027 across most states except Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, where it will start in September 2026. Population enumeration will follow in February 2027 across most states of India. Exception are Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, where it will start in September 2026. Data collection will be available in English, Hindi, and regional languages. Citizen will also have the option to self-enumerate via web portal. So there is a facility of geo tagging and digital mappings for the first time. For the first time, the all building, residential and non-residential, will be geo tagged. Enumerators will use digital layout mapping, DLM, digital layout mapping, to assign unique latitude, longitudes, coordinates to each building. So these geotagging will be linked to house listing blocks, HLBs, on a geographic information system, GIS map. So it improved data accuracy and spatial analysis capabilities. So India's 2027 census goal digital it is India's first self-enumeration option through filling in one info online. But why it is different? Use of a mobile apps in multiple language. It gives faster result, and it's recording cast for the first time. It is recording cast for the first time. Phases, it is two phases: April 2026 house listing and housing census, HLO, in February 2027 population enumeration. And why does this matter? Population data is used to redraw voting areas. So when will it happen? It will be conducted in two phases: April 2026 house listing and housing census, and in a second phase is February 2027 population enumeration, counting every person and collecting personal details like name, age, gender, education, and for the first time caste. First time caste is also mentioned. What's new in census 2027? It is fully digital. It will be completely digital. So data collection will happen using mobile apps, with the help of mobile apps, not traditional, not using any paper. So people will be able to fill in their own details online. Peoples are able to fill their own details online through a secure government portal. This is called self enumeration. So this is it aims to make the process faster, more accurate, and more inclusive. So why is this important? So this census is more than just a head count. It is more than just a head counts. It directly affects how resources are allocated and how political boundaries are drawn. So Lok Sabha constituency boundaries could be redrawn based on this data. States will, with growing population, may gain more representation in parliament. So these are the benefits. Data helps the governments plan better welfare programs, infrastructures, and plan different types of improving education initiatives. So it also has real-time monitoring and budgets. It facilitates real-time monitoring and budgets. So Registrar General of India, under the Ministry of Home Affairs, is developing a real-time monitoring website for the census. So it manages the entire process efficiently, and the government has allocated a budget of 14,618, 14,000, approx 14,000 crore for the census. So the 2011 socioeconomic caste census had also used electronic devices, but these were supplied by Bharat Electronics Limited. About 2027 census advances this by enabling the use of personal devices. Person will use their own devices and it offers self enumeration. So it is important for civil services exam, for current affairs and governance, demography, and social issues. The inclusion of comprehensive caste enumeration for the first time since independence is a major aspect of 2027 exercise. It is important for policy and planning's understanding how the 2027 census data will be drive evidence-based policy will be tested. It is important for delimitation. The upcoming delimitation exercise, which will use the post 2026 census data, is directly relevant to 33% women reservation in legislative bodies, making this aspect important for exam preparation. For banking and financial exam, it is also important for economic planning, and then for financing inclusion and welfares. The bank can use for financial products development and credit accessibility. It is also important for data driven decision making for banking and financial exam. So to understand market trends, to know about demographic shifts and potential areas for investment. Next news is Albania's inducts world first artificial intelligence minister. Albania's inducts world's first artificial intelligence minister. So Albania has appointed world's first artificial intelligence minister to fight against corruption. So Albania became the first country to formally induct an artificial intelligence entity as a government minister. So Albania became the first country to use a artificial intelligence entity as a government minister. That minister is a artificial intelligence, made by artificial intelligence. The AI minister named was Dila, which is a virtual official created entirely from code and pixels. It is created entirely from the code and pixel. So it was appointed to oversee public procurement and fight corruption in government spending. So Albania became the first country to use an artificial intelligence entity as a government minister. So it is a virtual entity made with the help of the computers. So it is appointed to oversee public procurement and fight corruption in government sector. So this movement it makes a new chapter in the use of artificial intelligence within public administration to fight against corruption in government sector. It introduction of Dila, the artificial intelligence minister. So on 11 September 2025, Albanian Prime Minister, name of Albanian Prime Minister is Edi Rama. Edi Rama revealed Dila at the Socialist Party Assembly in Tirana. Dila, Albania Prime Minister name is Adirama. See, Adirama revealed Dila at the Socialist Party's assembly in the Tirana. So, unlike traditional minister, Dila is not a human, but a digital avatar. Which is powered by artificial intelligence. It is not only a non-human member; it is non-human member of Albanian government. So it does the AI minister handles procurement. The duty of this AI minister is, which is a totally non-human member, digital member made by artificial intelligence. It handles procurement tasks, including evaluating and awarding public tenders where the government contracts private firms. Role and responsibilities, its role is to manage public procurement efficiently, transparently. It processes bureaucratic requests through voice commands on the country's digital service portal. So AI, with the help of AI, artificial intelligence, it evaluates tenders, selects contractors, even recruits talent globally. By automating these tasks, DILA aims to reduce human interference, bribery, which is an important concern, and threats in all government sector dealings. So, what are the objectives and benefits of Albania? So, Albania faces making this artificial intelligence government minister. Albania faces widespread corruption, especially in procurement. So, the AI minister is expected to curb this, to reduce this by applying impartial algorithms and reducing bias. It will bring greater transparency and accountability. And Delias also addresses fears of administrative rigidity by enabling more flexible and data-driven decision making. About human oversight and security concern, there is also security concern. Details about human supervision over DILA remain undisclosed. The government has not clarified how it will monitor artificial intelligence decision or intervene if necessary, if required. Experts warn that dependence on artificial intelligence is in sensitive areas like procurement could create security risk. A single mistake or manipulation in the system might lead to serious governance issues. So these are the security concerns. About the global significance, Albania experiment with artificial intelligence government minister Diela sets a precedent for artificial intelligence integration in governance. So it demonstrates how artificial intelligence can be used beyond advisory roles to active decision making in public functions. So this development may inspire other nations to explore similar digital innovation to improve transparency and efficacy in government sectors. This update is important for UPSC, for governance and ethics, international relation and geopolitics, for science and technology, and for essay writing, the role of technology in society or the ethical changes of artificial intelligence. Importance for banking exam also, digital transformation in banking, the use of AI for anti-corruption aligns with the broader trend of digital transformation in the banking and financial sectors. Bank use AI for fraud detection, risk assessment, and improving customer services. Fintech and regulation. This event highlight the growing integration of artificial intelligence into financial ecosystem and the need for strong regulatory frameworks. So, how artificial intelligence is used to ensure transparency and accountability in financial transaction? This is important question for current affairs. It is important for relevant for defense exam also, AI in strategic decision makings and cybersecurity and vulnerabilities. So the concern raised about Albania's artificial intelligence minister, potential vulnerability to manipulation and security risk are directly relevant to cybersecurity in the defense sector. About the technology modernization, the appointment reflects a global trends toward artificial intelligence. Next news is India explores isobutanol blending with diesel fuel. Diesel fuels. Isobutanol blending with the diesel fuel. So India is advancing its biofuel strategy by testing 10% isobutanol blends with mixing with diesel. Testing 10% isobutanol mixing with diesel. So the Automatic Research Association of India, RI, Automatic Research Association of India, RI, is conducting trials after ethanol diesel ethyl alcohol ethanol diesel blends fail to meet these expectations. So thus this shift aim to boost energy security, support farmers and reduce fossil fuel, and it help in reducing fossil fuel imports. About ethanol blending in India, ethanol blending has been a key biofuel policy. It is a key biofuel policy in India, especially in petrol. So the country achieved 20% ethanol blending ahead of schedule. So however, ethanol used with diesel faced many technical barriers. Because ethanol has corrosive natures and water absorption caused engine and pipeline issues also. So despite this, ethanol is alcohol. So ethanol blending reached farmer incomes. Corn prices may be doubled due to increased ethanol demand benefiting rural economy. So these are about the ethanol blending in India. So about isobutanol is a 4-carbon alcohol which is used industrially as a solvent. It is used in industry as a solvent. So isobutanols offer high energy density than ethyl alcohol, ethanol. Isobutanol closer to diesel energy content. So isobutanol absorb less water and reduce corrosion risk less than ethanol. So isobutanol make it a promising diesel blend components. It make it a promising diesel blend components. Isobutanol also used as a standalone single fuel or mixed with CNG for agriculture machinery. So it is also isobutanol mixed with CNG for agriculture machinery. So so there is a meeting has been proposed with major OEMs and suppliers focusing on whether existing diesel engines in construction machinery can adapt to isobutanol based operation. Yeah, isobutanol operation. The meeting had been held. So the uptake is companies like JSB India are already exploring hydrogen powered machinery. Sany India and Sakvik Setter are progressing with electric powered trainers. Global suppliers like JF Groups are expanding fuel agnostic components portfolios in India. So it is aligning with India's clean fuel strategy. The shift aligns with India's national biofuel policy, which targets 20% ethanol blending in petrols, 5% biodiesel blending in diesel by 2030. So this strategy is twofold. It reduces dependency on fossil fuel. So diesel accounted for 91.4 million tons of consumption in 2024 and 25. Then it supports cleaner air and sustainable fuel ecosystem with diesel consumption, which is expected to increase 3% to 94.1 million tons in 2025-26. The search for viable alternatives like isobutanols becomes urgent. Isobutanols becomes required. So fuel choice based on local context, experts highlight the importance of region-specific fuel strategies in India, where fossil fuels imports are expensive and agriculture is widespread, so the availability of raw materials for ethanol and isobutanol production makes biofuel adoption viable. About current trials and government initiative, ARISE testing 10% isobutanol diesel blends for engine for it is for engine compatibility and performance. The government is exploring flex fuel option. The government is exploring flex fuel option combining isobutanol and CNG for tractors, combining isobutanol and CNG for tractors. The innovations support the national biofuel policy, goals of energy diversification, and farmer welfare. The policy encourages sustainable energy and rural income growth. There are impacts on farmer and the sugar industry also because of this. The biofuel push is has helped farmers earn rupees 42,000 crore from corn used in ethanol production. The sugar industry linked to ethanol feedstock is also increasing. Sugar production is expected to increase 20% in the 2025-26 season. Sugar production is expected to increase 20% in 2025-26 season, added by because of good monsoon and good crop production. Industry bodies demand the government to raise the fair and remunerative prices, FRP of sugarcane, and increase export quotas to support mills and farmers. There are need of policy in industry recommendation. So government official stays increasing ethanol output and exploring advanced biofuel technologies. Producers are also encouraged to develop second and third generation ethanol, and this second and third generation to be produced from bamboo and agriculture residues. Industry leaders seek revision of sugarcane pricing to match this increasing cost and better market access through export quota expansion. So this system aims to strengthen the biofuel sector and rural economies. So India is exploring isobutanol diesel blending for commercial use after previous ethanol diesel attempts face technical issues. So India is exploring isobutanol diesel blending of commercial use after previously India tried to use ethanol diesel attempts which face technical issues. This initiative driven by Automatic Research Association of India. ARI, which aims to reduce oil import, support farmers, and achieve net zero emission goals. So, isobutanol is considered a superior alternative to ethanol. For diesel, isobutanol is considered as isobutanol is super alternative to ethanol for diesel due to its high energy density and low hygroscopicity. So, why shift to isobutanols? Ethanol diesel limitation. Ethanol diesel previous trials with ethanol diesel blending so technical incompatibility, poor engine, the performance engine of poor is poor, and increased risk of engine damage, making it unsuitable for widespread blend. Isobutanol's advantage has desirable properties for diesel engines, including high energy density. Unlike ethanol, it provides high energy closer to that of diesel. It has lower water absorption. It has better blending compatibility. Isobutanol is more compatible with diesel fuel than ethanol. So India's strategic goals are to reduce oil import dependence, increase farmer income, and achieve net zero targets by 2070. The pilot project is ARI Rules, which is a leading pilot project to test the feasibility of isobutanol isobutanol diesel blending. It's the potential global first in success. If it is successful, if it is successful, India could become the first nation to commercialize isobutanol as diesel blend. India focuses on 10% blends. Initial research focuses on 10% isobutanol diesel blends, which is a target that must be achieved without compromising engine performance. So it is important for UPSC exam, banking exam, and defense exam. So kindly practice. Now, next news is NASA finds potential biosignature on Mars surface. NASA finds potential biosignature on Mars surface. So NASA finds potential biosignature on Mars surface. NASA rover Perseverance. NASA rover's Perseverance Mars rover. It is a Mars rover. Perseverance has discovered a strongest sign yet that life might have existed. It is not certain. Life might have existed on Mars based on the NASA Mars rover Perseverance. In 2024, the rover analyzed a rock named, and the rock name is a Chivaya Falls. Rock name is Chivaya Falls, and rovers detected chemical and structure features which suggested possible ancient microbial activity, possible ancient living activity, microorganism activity. So this discovery has sparked global interest in extraterrestrial life. So, however, the evidence remains inconclusive and require further study. Perseverance rover discovery, the rover found the Chivaya Lakes rock. During its exploration, instrument detected clay, and the instrument detected what are the materials? Instrument detected clay, silt, organic carbon, sulfur, oxidized iron, and phosphorus in the sample. Clay, silt, organic carbon, sulfur, or oxidized iron, phosphorus in the sample. So these materials on Earth often preserve sign of past microbial. It indicates the sign of past microbial life. So the rock's chemical makeup hints at electron transport reaction that microbes use to generate energy. So this combination is a potential biosignature. So Perseverance finding NASA Perseverance rover, name of that rover is a Perseverance. Perseverance rover discovered leopard spots on a reddish rock, is a reddish rock, nicknamed Chivaya Falls. Rock is the Chivaya Falls in Mars Zero crater in 2024. So the rock was found to contain clay silt, which are known on Earth to preserve microbial life effectively. So these analyses revealed the presence of organic carbon, sulfur, oxidized iron, that is rust, and phosphorus. Carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, and rust. Iron oxide. So these minerals could have formed through biological activity, but may have also resulted from purely chemical, non-living, non-biological process. The rock sample has been described as containing a potential biosignature, but not yet confirmed as evidence, not yet confirmed as there is evidence of any life. So biosignature is an object or structures which indicates possible biological origin. So these may form by living organism or through non-biological processes. So signatures are object structures, chemical composition. They may have a biological origin. So they indicate the possible presence or activity of living organism either in the past or in the present. So biosignature is any substance as an element, isotope, or molecular phenomena that provide a scientific evidence of past life or present life. So these substances found could have been created. It could have been created without life and making the evidence doubtful. Scientists must distinguish between biological and abiotic non-living origins to confirm lives present in Mars planet. Significance of this finding. So this is the closest NASA has ever come to detecting sign of life on Mars. So this discovery has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of about Mars history and its capacity to host life. So the clay-rich nature of sample, sample consists of clay, which is a particularly important as clay is known to be excellent preserver of clay is excellent preserver of microbial signature on Earth. So, however, this finding does not give any conclusion and output which prove the existence of life on Mars. So, the structure and the chemical composition detected could also be explained by non-living abiotic processes. About scientific cause, and NASA emphasizes that the findings are not defining proof of life. The rover instruments provide initial clues but cannot confirm biological activity alone. So the Chebaya Falls sample will undergo more detailed examination. So Perseverance rover has collected how many samples? 30 samples for future analysis on Earth. So NASA plans to return. So what is the NASA future mission? So NASA plans to return collected mass sample, collected mass samples to Earth to return collected mass sample to Earth. So Perseverance stores samples in a sealed compartment for retrieval. However, the sample return mission face many challenges, including budget constraint. So there is a lack of budget. So successful return and study of these samples could revolutionize understanding of mass and life. There should be life beyond Earth. So a key aspect of the discovery is the discovery location is the rock sample Chabaya Falls. Chabaya Falls was found in a Zezero crater, an area known to have one hosted for a river delta, and Perseverance rover landed on Mars in February 2021 and has been exploring the crater to search for sign of ancient life. Potential biosignature organic carbon. The sample contains organic carbon, sulfur, oxidized iron, phosphorus were detected, which can be formed through biological process, particularly redox gradients. So the structure, the leopard spot on the rock is seen, are thought to be potentially formed by biological process. So about potential biosignatures, so these are according to scientists caution that these minerals and chemical signatures could also be the result of any non-biological chemical non-living process, similar to how iron rust in the presence of water and oxygen. If there is a iron rusting, it means there is a oxygen, so it may be prediction that there may be a life in Mars. So it is important for UPSC exam for the perspective of current affairs, astrobiology and space exploration, science and technology, insight into the potential of life on other planets and the challenges of detecting it. It is also important for GS paper 3, space technology, planetary science and the search for extraterrestrial life. Important for banking, for investment and technology and resource allocation, for defense exam, national significance with potential strategic implication, technology and innovation, and it is important for future planning, long-term strategic goals for human exploration and resource utilization in space. So next news we will learn in the next video. Kindly watch the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay consistent. Make notes of each and every updates. Revise consistently. Thank you for watching. Best of luck for